The death of Vincent Pillet, J.P., of Ellerden House, Ellerden, in the county of Buckingham, would, in the ordinary way, have received no more attention than the death of any other simple country gentleman. The circumstances of his death, however, though now long since forgotten, were sensational and attracted some notice at the time. It was one of those cases which is easily forgotten within a year, except just in the locality where it occurred. The most sensational circumstances of the case never came before the public at all. I give them here simply and plainly. The psychical people may make what they like of them. Pillet himself was a very ordinary country gentleman, a good fellow, but in no way brilliant. He was devoted to his wife, who was some 15 years younger than himself, and remarkably beautiful. She was quite a good woman, but she had her faults. She was fond of admiration, and she was an abominable flirt. She misled men very cleverly, and was then sincerely angry with them for having been misled. Her husband never troubled his head about these flirtations, being assured quite quietly that she was a good woman. He was not jealous. She, on the other hand, was possessed of a jealousy amounting almost to insanity. This might have caused trouble if he had ever provided her with the slightest basis on which her jealousy could work. But he never did. With the exception of his wife, women bored him. I believe she did once or twice try to make a scene, for some preposterous reason, which was no reason at all, but nothing serious came of it, and there was never a real quarrel between them. On the death of his wife, after a prolonged illness, Pillet wrote and asked me to come down to Ellerden for the funeral, and to remain at least a few days with him. He would be quite alone, and I was his oldest friend. I hate attending funerals, but I was his oldest friend, and I was, moreover, a distant relation of his wife. I had no choice, and I went down. There were many visitors in the house for the funeral, which took place in the village churchyard, but they left immediately afterwards. The air of heavy gloom which had hung over the house seemed to lift a little. The servants are always very emotional, continued to break down at intervals, noticeably Pillet's man, Williams, but Pillet himself was self-possessed. He spoke of his wife with great affection and regret, but still he could speak of her, and not unsteadily. At dinner he also spoke of one or two other subjects, of politics, and of his duties as a magistrate, and of course he made the requisite fuss about his gratitude to me for coming down to Ellerden at that time. After dinner we sat in the library, a room well and expensively furnished, but without the least attempt at taste. There were a few oil paintings on the walls, a presentation portrait of himself, and a landscape or two, all more or less bad, as far as I remember. He had eaten next to nothing at dinner, but he had drunk a good deal. The wine, however, did not seem to have the least effect upon him. I had got the conversation definitely off the subject of his wife, when I made a blunder. I noticed an Erickson's extension standing on his writing table. I said, Oh, I didn't know that telephones had penetrated into the villages yet. Yes, he said. I believe they are common enough now. I had that one fitted up during my wife's illness to communicate with her bedroom on the floor above us on the other side of the house. At that moment, the bell of the telephone rang sharply. We both looked at each other. I said, with the stupid affectation of calmness one always puts on when one is a little bit frightened, "Probably a servant in that room wishes to speak to you." He got up, walked over to the machine, and swung the green cord towards me. The end of it was loose. "I had it disconnected this morning," he said. "Also, the door of that room is locked, and no one can possibly be in it."